as you think about, our community, as you think about the African community, are we experiencing this at a whole different level than anyone else?
I think so. There's in the mainstream, they always say that, African Americans are predisposed to diabetes and the complications that it comes with.
Yeah.
And it's funny because today, while driving, I was thinking about that. And I said, no, that's not true. There's no predisposition genetically to any kind of disease, right? Especially if you're talking about people who, culturally and also historically have very strong health.
Yeah.
Very, very strong immune systems, and everything from the vitality of the African people.
Yes.
So to go back to your question, I think that what's really happening with us is that a lot of us have adopted these diets and adopted these living standards, and the stress and the emotional trauma. It's created this whole big pot of issues, especially when you're now eating emotionally, and all those foods are bad foods. So that right there could also contribute. And I hope I answered your question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're noticing kind of, the co-opting, like there's so much that has been co-opted from us, right? And I want to talk about the things that have been co-opted, particularly about Black fathers, but the co-opting even of the diet, and the replacement that has come as part of our historical, transition into the Americas, let's say it that way. And through the enslavement of our ancestors, and now I guess the de-enslavement, but then all of those things kind of epigenetically like coming forward. And so, as you think about the co-opting, and as you think about kind of like the imposition of a whole different diet that is all about coping with, the traumatic moments that we experience, kind of like as a super consciousness, but then also the micro consciousness in our own families. Like, what's happening to us, like on that kind of level? When you talk about the diet, like, where are we?
Oh, that's a wonderful question, Joan. One way I'd like to answer that question is to talk about the gut microbiome.
Yes.
We know that every culture in different parts of the world has their own particular microbiome, right? So, whether it be Europe, China, India, Africa, I mean, there'll be similarities, but when you eat your foods in that location, you're going to have a particular microbiome. And that microbiome, those bacteria are going to make certain chemicals which will affect your brain, your culture, right? How you feel, how you think, how you interact with your community.
Yeah.
So with this imposition of this diet, it's really an imposition of switching the mindset of the people.
Right.
So when Africans take on this standard American diet, which is really just, I won't even say it's a European diet, it's really an artificial, degenerated diet, of degenerated foods. But we take on this diet, we reflect that. And some good examples are like palm oil, for instance, right?
Yeah.
So palm oil is an extremely healthy oil, which a lot of people may argue against. Bruce Fife, in his book The Palm Oil Miracle, came up with a lot of proof, a lot of studies that support that. But palm oil, right now, many Ghanaians, although they traditionally grew up eating palm oil and still do, they would say don't eat palm oil in the winter because when you put palm oil in the fridge, whatever, it gets solid. So in their minds, in the winter, it's going to get solid in your arteries and give you a. But if you take palm oil and you put it in your hand, it's going to melt.
That's right, because the body temperature is
temperature.
Like,
So this backward science that was passed on from some guy and continued through the country, not only did it, in some way push aside the palm oil industry, which could have been really thriving just like it is in Malaysia.
Yes.
But it also made us kind of take up more of the artificial oils like the corn oil and the safflower and the canola. And a lot of these are the oils that we're using now. That's
Right.
actually leading to the diabetes, the insulin resistance, and the destruction of the arteries. So one example of, Western imposition, and then of course the Western medication will come and say, oh, this is the remedy. So it's like a layer upon a layer of attack. And of course, there's many other things in the diet that we've taken on that will affect the microbiome, which then would affect how we think, how we act. And
Wow. Wow. So even as I think about that, and it's such a good example of taking something that is quite natural and the gut as you're talking about it. And so the food corresponds with the gut and the microbes that are in the gut. But now if you whether you transport the person out or you just take away whatever has come natural to them that provides that, now all of a sudden the person's out and they're out of balance from this thing that would actually have kept them healthy, thinking, because we always have to buy into the story, thinking, well, their way is better, right?
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about what it's like to be a dad and, the way of the African. And when I say that, I kind of believe there's a soulish way of being a father that has nothing to do per se with the territory of Africa that we might be from or live in, but has everything to do with the substance of who we are as people who are born with this melanated skin, and that there's this soulish part of us that allows us to operate in our families different than what we've been forced to believe that this family should look like.